My doctor shoved a note in my hand. "Don't go home. Run." That night, I discovered my family. My own flesh and blood plotted to destroy me, ripping my heart to shreds with a betrayal so vile it burns my soul to ashes. My name is Evelyn Harper, and at 68 years old, I thought I'd built a life full of love in the quiet town of Asheville, North Carolina. For 40 years, I poured my heart into raising James Carter, the son I adopted when he was just 3, a scared little boy with big brown eyes. I gave up my teaching career, my dreams of traveling, to give him everything: a good education, a cozy home, and all the love I had. When my husband passed away 10 years ago, James, his wife Laura, and their daughter Sophie became my whole world. Our small 2-story house on a peaceful street lined with oak trees was my pride, worth $700,000, paid for with decades of hard work. I thought we were a family bound by trust, but lately, something felt off. James stopped looking me in the eye. Laura's smiles seemed forced, like she was hiding something. Even Sophie, my sweet 9-year-old granddaughter, grew distant, always glued to her phone. "Evelyn, you feeling okay?" Laura asked last week, her voice syrupy but cold. "You look tired, Mom," James added, his tone more accusing than concerned. I brushed it off, but their words lingered like a storm cloud. Little did I know, that routine checkup with Dr. Henry Brooks, my trusted doctor of 15 years, would unravel the truth and shatter everything I believed about my family. That Tuesday morning, I walked into Asheville General Hospital for what I thought was a routine checkup with Dr. Henry Brooks, my physician for 15 years. The waiting room smelled of antiseptic, and the hum of fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. But something felt wrong the moment I sat down in Dr. Brooks's office. His hands trembled as he checked my blood pressure, and his eyes darted away from mine, like he was hiding something. "Your vitals are perfect, Evelyn," he said, his voice tight, almost strained. "Blood pressure's 120/80, heart strong as ever." I nodded, but his words didn't ease the knot in my stomach. As I reached for my purse to leave, Dr. Brooks leaned in close, his breath warm against my ear. "Be careful, Evelyn," he whispered, slipping a folded piece of paper into my bag so fast I barely noticed. "Not everyone you trust has your best interests at heart." His words hit me like a punch. I forced a smile, muttered a thank you, and hurried out, my heart pounding like a drum. The 10-mile cab ride back to my 2-story home in Asheville felt endless. Dr. Brooks's warning echoed in my mind. Not everyone you trust. What did he mean? He'd known James since he was a teenager, watched him grow up. Why the secrecy? Why the note? I clutched my purse, too afraid to look at the paper until I was alone. When I stepped through the front door, the house was eerily quiet. James, Laura, and Sophie were in the living room, huddled together, their voices low and urgent. The moment they saw me, they froze. Laura shoved a stack of papers behind her back, her face pale. "How'd the doctor go, Mom?" James asked, his smile thin, his eyes cold as steel. "Fine," I said, trying to sound calm despite the chill creeping up my spine. "Dr. Brooks says I'm healthy as a horse." Laura's lips twitched, like she was fighting a frown. "That's great, Grandma," Sophie mumbled, staring at her phone, her voice flat. The air felt thick, like a storm about to break. Dinner that night was unbearable. James barely touched his food, pushing mashed potatoes around his plate. Laura answered my questions with one-word grunts, her eyes flicking to James every few seconds. Sophie wouldn't even look at me, her fingers tapping nervously on the table. "Is something wrong?" I asked, my voice shaking despite myself. "We're just tired, Evelyn," Laura snapped, her tone sharper than a knife. James shot her a look, then forced a laugh. "Yeah, Mom, long day. Don't worry." But I was worried. Their behavior screamed that something was horribly off, and Dr. Brooks's note burned a hole in my purse. After dinner, I excused myself, claiming I needed rest, and locked myself in my bedroom. My hands shook as I pulled the note from my purse and unfolded it. The words, scrawled in, "Doctor," Brooks's familiar handwriting stole my breath. "Evelyn, your family came to me yesterday. They asked me to declare you mentally unfit to manage your affairs. They want to put you in a nursing home and take your $700,000 house. Don't go home. Run." My knees buckled, and I sank onto the bed, the note fluttering to the floor. My family, James, the son I raised with every ounce of my love. Laura, who I welcomed like a daughter. Sophie, my pride and joy, wanted to lock me away and steal everything I'd worked for. The house my late husband and I bought with 30 years of savings, the home where I raised James, was just a dollar sign to them. My chest ached, like someone had ripped my heart out and stomped on it. How could they do this? I'd given them everything: 40 years of love, sacrifice, late nights working double shifts to pay for James's college. And now this? I couldn't sleep. Every creak in the house made me jump, my mind racing with questions. Were they plotting right now? Was I safe here? At 1 a.m., I heard whispers from the kitchen. Barefoot, I crept to the top of the stairs, my heart pounding so loud I thought they'd hear it. James's voice was low but clear. "The doctor's useless," he hissed. "I told him she's forgetting things, leaving the stove on, but he wouldn't sign the papers." Laura's voice cut in, sharp and venomous. "We can't wait forever, James. That house is worth $700,000, and her savings? At least another $100,000. We need it now." Sophie's voice was quieter, hesitant. "But what if she finds out? I mean, she's not crazy." "She doesn't need to be," Laura snapped. "We'll make her look crazy. Switch her meds, move her keys, tell her she's losing it. In a month, any doctor will lock her up." James chuckled. "Cold and cruel. And then we sell the house, split the cash, and Sophie, you'll have your college fund." My blood ran cold. They weren't just betraying me, they were planning to destroy my mind, my dignity. I gripped the banister, fighting the urge to scream. I had to act. But how? Dr. Brooks's note was a lifeline, a warning I couldn't ignore. I slipped back to my room, my resolve hardening. They thought I was a frail old woman, but they were about to learn I was far from helpless. Back in my bedroom, clutching Dr. Brooks's note, I felt the walls of my Asheville home closing in. The words, "They want to put you in a nursing home and take your $700,000 house," echoed like a death knell. My heart pounded, not just from fear, but from a deeper, sharper pain that clawed at my soul. How could James, the boy I raised from a toddler, the son I loved through sleepless nights and endless sacrifices, betray me like this? I sank to the floor, tears streaming down my face, as memories flooded back, teaching James to ride a bike in our oak-lined driveway, cheering at his high school graduation, wiping his tears when he lost his first job. 40 years of love, poured into a son who now saw me as a cash machine. But the pain was about to cut deeper. I forced myself to my desk, desperate to understand how far this betrayal went. Rummaging through old bank statements, I found something that stopped my heart. A withdrawal of $50,000 from my savings account, dated 3 months ago. The account was meant for Sophie's college fund, every penny scraped together from my late husband's life insurance and my own penny pinching. The signature on the withdrawal form was mine, but I'd never signed it. James had forged it. My hands shook as I dug deeper, finding an email on my old laptop, one James thought I'd never see. It was to his old college buddy, Mike, sent just last week. "Mom's just a means to an end, always has been. She's not my real mom, just some lady who took me in to play house. Once we get her in the nursing home, the house and her savings are ours." My breath caught, a sob tearing through me. Not his real mom? I'd given up my teaching career, my friends, my dreams to raise him. I'd bandaged his scraped knees, paid for his $30,000 college tuition, held him when his father died. And I was just some lady? The pain was unbearable, like a knife twisting in my chest, shredding every memory I cherished. I stumbled to the mirror, staring at the woman I'd become, a 6-8-year-old widow, gray hair framing a face etched with worry. Had I been blind all these years? Had James always seen me as a burden, a stepping stone to his greed? "You fool, Evelyn," I whispered to my reflection, tears burning my eyes. "You gave him everything, and he gave you lies." I thought of Laura, her fake smiles at Sunday dinners, always asking about my savings, just in case. I thought of Sophie, my sweet granddaughter, who'd barely spoken to me tonight. Was she part of this too? The thought crushed me like a 1,000-pound weight on my heart. I sank onto the bed, clutching a photo of James as a boy, his gap-toothed smile beaming up at me. "Why, James?" I whispered, my voice breaking. "What did I do to make you hate me?" The silence of the house mocked me, every creak a reminder of the betrayal lurking downstairs. I remembered the day I adopted him, a scared 3-year-old clinging to my hand at the Asheville orphanage. I'd promised to love him forever. And now, at 2 a.m., I realized that promise had been my undoing. My love had blinded me to his true nature, to Laura's cunning, to Sophie's silence. I felt like I was drowning, every breath a struggle against the weight of 40 years of lies. But as the tears fell, a flicker of anger sparked deep within me. They thought they could break me, lock me away, steal my home, my dignity. They thought I was just a frail old woman, too weak to fight back. I wiped my eyes, my hands still trembling, but my mind starting to clear. Dr. Brooks's note wasn't just a warning, it was a call to action. I wouldn't let them destroy me. I'd spent 40 years building this family, but now I'd spend every ounce of my strength tearing their lies apart. I grabbed my phone, my fingers hovering over the screen. I needed answers, proof, a plan. The pain was still there, raw and unrelenting, but it was fueling something new, a fire I hadn't felt in years. They'd underestimated me, and that was their biggest mistake. The pain of James's betrayal, his forged signature stealing $50,000, and his cold words calling me just some lady, burned like acid in my veins. But as dawn broke over Asheville, painting the Blue Ridge Mountains in soft pinks, a fire sparked inside me. I wasn't going to run like a scared victim. Dr. Henry Brooks' note wasn't just a warning, it was my wake-up call. I wasn't the frail old woman James, Laura, and Sophie thought I was. They wanted to lock me away, steal my $700,000 home, and drain my savings. But they didn't know my secret, the one I'd kept hidden for a decade, waiting for the day I'd need it most. My late husband, Tom, didn't just leave me memories, he left me power. Tucked away in a safe deposit box at First Citizens Bank, 15 miles from my house, was $3 million in cash and deeds to 2 beachfront condos in Florida, worth $1.5 million each. I'd never told James, not because I didn't trust him then, but because I wanted his love to be real, not bought with dollar signs. Now, that secret was my weapon. I sat on my bed, the photo of young James still in my hand, but my tears had dried. "You think you can break me?" I whispered to the empty room, my voice steady for the first time in hours. "You're about to meet the real Evelyn Harper." I grabbed my phone and dialed a number I hadn't called in years, Margaret Lawson, a sharp-witted lawyer I'd met through my late husband's business dealings. "Evelyn, it's 5 a.m. Margaret's voice crackled, groggy but concerned. "What's wrong?" "Everything," I said, my words sharp as a blade. "My family's plotting to declare me insane and steal my house. I need you to protect me and make them pay." Margaret didn't hesitate. "Meet me at my office in downtown Asheville by 8. Bring everything you have." I hung up, my heart racing, not with fear, but with purpose. I pulled a small notebook from my nightstand, where I'd jotted down the details of my hidden accounts years ago. The numbers stared back at me. $3 million, 2 condos, untouchable by anyone but me. James thought he'd get my $100,000 savings and the house. He had no idea what was coming. I needed more than just money to fight back. I slipped downstairs, careful not to wake James or Laura, and found my old voice recorder in a kitchen drawer. At 2 a.m., I'd overheard their plan to switch my meds and gaslight me into seeming crazy. I needed proof. At 6 a.m., I crept back to the kitchen, pretending to make coffee, and left the recorder running on the counter, hidden behind a canister. Sure enough, James and Laura were up early, whispering again. She didn't suspect a thing at dinner, Laura hissed, her voice dripping with contempt. We start moving her stuff today. Keys, glasses, make her think she's losing it. James snorted. By next week, she'll be begging for the nursing home. That $700,000 house will be ours, and Sophie's college is paid for. I stood frozen in the hallway, recorder capturing every damning word. My hands clenched, nails digging into my palms. They weren't just stealing, they were dismantling my sanity, piece by piece. By 7 a.m., I was in a cab, heading to the Grove Park Inn, a grand hotel nestled in the mountains, 5 miles from home. I needed a safe place to plan, somewhere James and Laura couldn't find me. "Why the rush, ma'am?" the driver asked, glancing at my tense face in the rearview mirror. "Just need to clear my head," I said, forcing a smile. But inside, I was a storm of rage and resolve. At the hotel, I checked into a suite overlooking Asheville's rolling hills, the $300 a night price a small cost for safety. Sitting on the plush sofa, I called Margaret again. "I've got recordings," I told her. My voice low but firm. "They're planning to make me look crazy, swapping my meds, hiding my things, and they've already stolen $50,000. Margaret's tone hardened. "That's elder abuse, Evelyn, and fraud. We'll bury them. I'm calling a private investigator, Tom Reynolds. He's the best in North Carolina. Can you meet us at noon?" "I'll be there," I said, feeling the weight of my secret fortune and the recordings in my purse. This wasn't just about survival, it was about justice. They'd underestimated me for the last time, and I was ready to turn their world upside down. The fire in my chest burned hotter than ever as I stood in my suite at the Grove Park Inn, the Asheville skyline glowing under the midday sunday. James, Laura, and Sophie thought they could erase me, lock me in a nursing home, sell my $700,000 house, and pocket my stolen $50,000. But my $3 million secret and the recordings of their cruel plan were my shield and sword. I wasn't just fighting to survive, I was fighting to expose them. At noon, I met Margaret Lawson and Tom Reynolds, the private investigator, at Margaret's sleek office downtown, 3 miles from the hotel. Tom, a grizzled man with sharp eyes, played my recording of James and Laura plotting to gaslight me. "This is gold, Evelyn," he said, his voice gruff. "We've got them on elder abuse and fraud, but we need more." Margaret nodded, her pen tapping the desk. "We stage a public confrontation," she said. "Catch them in the act. Let them bury themselves." My heart raced at the idea. "How?" I asked. "They're trying to sell your house," Tom replied. "I've got a tip they're meeting a realtor tomorrow at Blue Ridge Properties, 2 miles from here. You show up, expose them, and we record it all." That night, I sat in my suite, my laptop open, and did something I'd never done before. I started a YouTube live stream. "Hello, everyone," I said, staring into the camera, my voice steady despite the storm inside. "I'm Evelyn Harper, 68 years old, and I'm about to reveal how my family betrayed me." I played the recording of James and Laura scheming to swap my meds and hide my keys. The chat exploded 50 viewers, then 500, then 2,000 minutes. "This is disgusting," one comment read. "Fight back, Evelyn," another urged. My hands shook, not from fear, but from the power of truth. "They think I'm weak," I told the viewers, my voice rising. "But tomorrow, they'll see who I really am." By the time I ended the stream, 3,000 people had watched, their support a lifeline I hadn't expected. The next day, I dressed in a sharp navy blazer, my gray hair swept into an elegant bun, and headed to Blue Ridge Properties. Margaret and Tom had wired me with a hidden mic, ready to capture every word. As I walked into the realtor's office, a modern space with glass walls and mountain views, I spotted James, Laura, and Sophie talking to a realtor, a polished man named Greg. "We're selling my mother's house," James said, his voice smooth. "She's not well, so we have power of attorney." Laura nodded, clutching a forged document. My blood boiled, but I kept my composure. "Hello, family," I called out, stepping forward, my voice cutting through the room like a blade. Their heads snapped toward me, faces paling. James's jaw dropped, Laura's eyes widened, and Sophie gasped, clutching her phone. "Evelyn, what are you doing here?" James stammered, his confident facade crumbling. "The same thing you are," I said, my tone ice. Cold. "Except I'm buying a penthouse with my own money, not stealing someone else's." Greg, the realtor, looked confused. "Is there a problem?" he asked. "Oh, there's a big problem," I said, pulling out my phone and playing the recording from my kitchen. James's voice filled the room. "By next week, she'll be begging for the nursing home." The office fell silent, Greg's face hardening. Laura tried to interrupt, her voice shrill. "That's taken out of context. She's not well, she's—" I cut her off. "Not well? Is that why I'm here, perfectly healthy, with $3 million in my accounts you know nothing about?" Sophie's eyes widened and she whispered, "$3 million?" I turned to her, my voice softening but firm. "Sophie, you're young. You can still choose the right path. Tell the truth." Sophie's face crumpled, tears welling up. "Grandma, I didn't want this," she choked out, stepping away from her parents. "They made me go along with it. Mom's been texting someone about fake medical papers." Laura lunged forward, hissing, "Sophie, shut up!" But Sophie kept going, her voice breaking. "I'm sorry, Grandma. I was scared, but I can't do this anymore." The realtor stepped back, shaking his head. "This sounds like fraud," he said. "I can't proceed without legal clarity." I smiled, feeling the weight of 3,000 live stream viewers behind me, their comments flooding my phone. "Don't worry, Greg," I said. "My lawyer's on her way with the truth and the law." James's face turned ashen, and Laura's hands shook. They'd walked into my trap, and the world was watching. But this was just the beginning. Bigger forces were closing in. The air in Blue Ridge Properties still crackled with tension as I walked out, leaving James, Laura, and Sophie stunned in the realtor's office. Their faces pale, panicked, and guilty were burned into my mind. But the fight was far from over. Back at my suite in the Grove Park Inn, 5 miles from downtown Asheville, I felt a surge of power I hadn't known in years. My live stream exposing their plan to gaslight me and sell my $700,000 home had reached 3,000 viewers, their comments flooding my phone with support. "Evelyn, you're a hero. And make them pay." But the real bombshell was yet to come. Tom Reynolds, my private investigator, called me that afternoon, his voice brimming with excitement. "Evelyn, we hit the jackpot," he said. "Laura's contact for those fake medical papers? He's an FBI informant. They've got her on tape, and James too, plotting to forge documents to declare you insane." I gripped the phone, my heart pounding like a jackhammer. "What kind of tape?" I asked, barely breathing. "Audio and video," Tom replied. "They met a guy named Vince Malone at a diner 10 miles outside Asheville. Paid him $20,000 cash stolen from your $50,000 withdrawal to fake a doctor's report saying you have dementia. But Vince has been working with the FBI for months, busting a fraud ring. He recorded everything." My mind reeled. James and Laura hadn't just betrayed me, they'd crossed into federal crime territory. The $20,000 was part of the money James forged my signature to steal. Money I'd saved for Sophie's college. What happens now? I asked, my voice steady but laced with fury. The FBI's building a case, Tom said. They've got Laura on video handing Vince the cash, and James admitting they'd use the fake report to lock you up and sell your house. You're not just fighting for your home anymore, Evelyn. You're bringing down criminals. That evening, I fired up another YouTube live stream, the Asheville Mountains glowing in the sunset behind me. Good evening, everyone, I said, my voice calm but razor sharp. Yesterday, 3,000 of you heard how my family James, Laura, and Sophie planned to destroy my life. Tonight, I have news that'll shock you even more. I paused, letting the tension build, as the viewer count climbed to 5,000. My son and daughter-in-law didn't just try to steal my $700,000 home. They paid $20,000 to a forger to fake medical records, to make the world believe I'm losing my mind. But they didn't know their forger was an FBI informant. The chat erupted emojis of shock, anger, and applause flooding the screen. Evelyn, you're unstoppable, one viewer wrote. Send them to jail, another demanded. Midway through the stream, my phone rang. It was James, his voice shaking with desperation. Mom, please, turn off that stream, he begged, loud enough for the mic to catch. You're ruining us. I held the phone up, letting the 5,000 viewers hear. Ruining you? I shot back, my voice trembling with rage. You stole $50,000 from me, forged my signature, and paid a criminal to fake my dementia. And now you're caught, James, on FBI tape. The silence on his end was deafening, but I pressed on. You thought you could break me, but you're the one breaking now. Laura's voice cut in, shrill and panicked. Evelyn, you're crazy. Those tapes are lies. I laughed, cold and bitter. Crazy? The FBI doesn't think so. They've got you handing over $20,000 to Vince Malone. Want to explain that to my viewers? The chat went wild. FBI. FBI. And justice for Evelyn. Sophie's call came next, her voice soft and broken. Grandma, I'm so sorry, she whispered, away from her parents. I didn't know about the forger. I thought they just wanted you in a nice home. I was wrong. My heart ached for her, but I stayed firm. Sophie, you stood by while they plotted, but you can still make this right. Tell the truth. She sobbed. I will, Grandma. I have texts from Mom to Vince. I'll send them to you. I nodded, unseen by her. Do it, Sophie. Be the woman I raised you to be. The stream hit 7,000 viewers, their support a tidal wave washing over me. I ended the broadcast with a promise. Tomorrow, we'll see how deep this betrayal goes. Stay with me. As I set down my phone, Margaret Lawson called. Evelyn, the FBI's moving fast, she said. They're ready to raid James and Laura's home. Your recordings, Sophie's texts, it's all coming together. I stood at my suite's window, staring at the dark mountains, my resolve ironclad. The feds were closing in, and my family's lies were unraveling faster than they could run. The FBI's net was tightening around James and Laura, their $20,000 deal with Vince Malone, the informant, now a ticking bomb ready to explode their lies. Back in my suite at the Grove Park Inn, overlooking Asheville's misty mountains, I felt a strange calm, like the quiet before a storm. My live streams, now viral with over 7,000 viewers, had turned my pain into a rallying cry for justice. Sophie's texts, sent to me after our confrontation at Blue Ridge Properties, were the final nails in her parents' coffin screenshots of Laura's messages to Vince, plotting to fake my dementia diagnosis for $700,000 in assets. Margaret Lawson, my lawyer, called me the next morning, her voice steady but triumphant. Evelyn, the FBI raided James and Laura's home last night, she said. They found forged documents, bank records of the $50,000 theft, and emails linking them to Vince. The trial's set for next week at the Buncombe County Courthouse, 2 miles from here. We've got them. The week before the trial flew by in a blur of preparation. Tom Reynolds, my investigator, uncovered more. Laura had sold my late husband's $5,000 heirloom watch to a pawn shop, claiming it was hers. The betrayal stung, but it fueled my resolve. I spent hours with Margaret, reviewing evidence, the recordings of James and Laura planning to gaslight me, Sophie's texts, the FBI's tapes. Sophie, now living with a friend in Asheville, called me daily, her voice heavy with guilt. "Grandma, I'm testifying against them," she said, her words trembling. "I know I messed up, but I want to make it right." I softened, remembering the little girl I'd raised. "Sophie, you're doing the brave thing," I replied. "That's all I ever wanted from you." Her testimony would seal the case, but my heart still ached for the family we'd lost. The trial day arrived, and I walked into the Buncombe County Courthouse, dressed in a tailored gray suit, my head held high. The courtroom buzzed with reporters and supporters, many older folks from Asheville who'd seen my live streams and sent letters of encouragement. James and Laura sat at the defense table, their faces gaunt, eyes hollow. James avoided my gaze, but Laura glared, her lips a thin line of defiance. The prosecutor, a sharp woman named Clara Evans, laid out the case like a master storyteller. She played my kitchen recording, James's voice chilling the room. "Switch her meds. Make her think she's losing it." She showed the FBI's video of Laura handing Vince $20, 0 inches a diner parking lot, her smug smile captured in grainy detail. The jury gasped when Clara presented the forged withdrawal form for my $50,000, my signature scrawled in James's clumsy hand. Sophie took the stand, her hands shaking but her voice clear. "My parents told me it was for Grandma's good," she said, tears streaming down her face. "But they wanted her money, her $700,000 house, her savings. They made me lie, said it was for my college fund." The prosecutor held up Laura's text to Vince. "Need the dementia papers by next week. Cash ready." The courtroom fell silent, the weight of betrayal hanging heavy. Laura shouted, "She's lying," but the judge banged his gavel, silencing her. James slumped in his chair, his face buried in his hands. I looked at them, my son and daughter-in-law, and felt no pity, only a cold, hard clarity. They'd chosen greed over family, and now they'd face the consequences. My testimony was brief but piercing. "I gave James 40 years of my life," I said, my voice steady, eyes locked on the jury. "I gave up my career, my dreams to raise him, and he repaid me with lies, theft, and a plan to steal my sanity." The jury's faces softened, some wiping tears. The defense tried to paint me as a bitter old woman, but Clara countered with 3 independent psychiatrists' reports confirming my mental clarity. After 2 days, the jury deliberated for just 90 minutes. "Guilty," the foreman declared. James got 10 years for fraud, elder abuse, and conspiracy. Laura got 8 years, plus charges for forging documents. The gavel's echo was my victory, a sound louder than my pain. As I left the courthouse, reporters swarmed. "Evelyn, do you feel justice was served?" one asked. "Justice was served in that courtroom," I said, my voice calm but firm. "But real justice is me living free, knowing my worth." Sophie stood beside me, her eyes red but hopeful. We moved into a new home that week, a $400,000 cottage on the edge of Asheville, with a garden bursting with roses. The world had seen my story, and hundreds of letters poured in, stories of other seniors fighting back, inspired by my live streams. But the fight wasn't over. A bigger battle loomed, one to ensure no one else suffered like I had. Standing in the garden of my new $400,000 cottage on the outskirts of Asheville, I watched the roses bloom under the soft North Carolina sun, their petals a quiet reminder of the life I've reclaimed. The trial at Buncombe County Courthouse, where James and Laura were sentenced to 10 and 8 years for their betrayal, feels like a distant storm now. Sophie, my granddaughter, lives with me, her laughter filling the rooms as she studies for her psychology degree, determined to protect other seniors from the pain we endured. The $700,000 house, the $50,000 they stole, the $20,000 they paid Vince Malone for forged documents, all of it is behind us. My $3 million secret and 2 Florida condos remain safe, a legacy I'll use wisely. But the real victory isn't the money or the guilty verdicts. It's the woman I've become. For 40 years, I thought love meant giving everything: my teaching career, my dreams, my heart to James, Laura, and Sophie. I thought family was bound by blood or adoption papers. But Dr. Henry Brooks's note, slipped into my purse that fateful day, taught me otherwise. Family is loyalty, respect, and love that doesn't demand sacrifice at the cost of your soul. At 68, I learned it's never too late to stand up for yourself, to walk away from those who hurt you, even if they share your name. My live streams, now watched by thousands across America, sparked a movement. Letters pour in, daily stories from seniors in Chicago, Miami, Seattle, who fought back against greed and betrayal, inspired by my story. One wrote, "Evelyn, you gave me the courage to check my bank statements." Another said, "I left my toxic son after seeing your strength." These voices remind me I'm not alone. Here's the lesson I want you to carry. Trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, a whisper, a look, a secret note, don't ignore it. Protect your worth, your savings, your dignity. Reach out to a friend, a lawyer like Margaret Lawson, or a community group. You're never too old to start over, to build a life that's yours. I did it with a $400,000 cottage, a garden, and a granddaughter who's become my truest family. Sophie wants to help others now, and I've started a small foundation, funded by my $3 million, to support seniors facing elder abuse. We're not victims. We're warriors, with stories that can change lives. I look at the roses, their thorns sharp but beautiful, and think of Dr. Brooks, whose warning saved me. I think of Tom Reynolds and Clara Evans, who fought for justice. Most of all, I think of you, watching this, maybe feeling betrayed or alone. You are enough. Your strength is enough. And you deserve to live free. If my story touched you, please share it. Like this video, leave a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe to the Unwanted Revenge. Your voice can help someone else find their courage. Let's stand together, not just for me, but for every senior who deserves respect. Thank you for being here, for listening to an old woman who found her fight. The next chapter is ours to write.